All right, today we are tearing into a 2014 Sportsman 570 transmission. Now this transmission is locked up. I pulled this cover off over here and made sure that all that was intact with the gear selector area, and we can go through that in a different video, but this one we're going to go ahead and split this transmission case and figure out where the damage is coming from. They were riding it, it locked up. Was able to move the selector. It was very difficult to do, especially when there was any kind of pressure on it. If it was a little bit of throttle or idling a little bit high, you almost couldn't do it at all. You shut it off, shift it, but it won't go anywhere. So we were able to get the back axles out of there. It's got oil in it, so we will have kind of a mess here. 20 half-inch bolts all the way around the outside of this transmission case, and I'm not sure if we'll be able to tip it up so you're able to see it here. That way we can see when we're tearing into it. There it is there. Again, it's going to be a little messy, so I'm going to try to keep it over where it can drain. And what I like to do, if it's possible, use a putty knife or something similar to open it up. Sometimes it's not possible. These cases are just sealed enough to where a putty knife isn't going to do it. So there's several places on here you can tap on it. You just want to make sure you don't put too much pressure and break anything. A lot of times once that seal is broken, a lot of times it's pretty easy just to pop off of there. These axles can be fairly difficult to come out of there when you're pulling it out of the four-wheeler. To split the transmission, you have to pull that transmission. You're not able to do that with it still in the four-wheeler, so that just makes it a little more challenging, a little more time-consuming. Curious to see what is going on with this transmission. You can see it's got good oil in it still. This is all a gasket area, so just be really careful we don't damage this when we're pulling it apart. All right, now this motor's going to tip up. Make sure. All right, that is splitting the transmission there. You can see we've got some damage here to this bearing, and I don't think, well, I guess that may be causing it. I'll have to dig through here, see if there's any more broken parts, but it looks to me like that is the majority of the damage. And rather than dropping all that down in there, I'm going to grab a magnet here and try to pull some of these parts out. But you can see there that bearing just, oh, I dropped it in there anyways. It's completely destroyed. Now that shaft still looks good. And probably more than likely what had happened was they shifted when they were moving or something along those lines. So this gear back here is a common wear part where those axles go into. If those axles get loose or slip out, not in there all the way, those will break apart. I'm just kind of looking down in there. I don't see a lot of other damage. So you can pull some of these parts off here and see. You know, I might almost, looks like it's going to slip out there anyway. This is spring loaded, so just be careful pulling that off. It almost looks like this bearing is the only problem that we have here. Just not seeing anything else. We'll go ahead and kind of tear into it a little bit more just to verify that, but I hate to disassemble this entire thing when all we have to do is replace that bearing. These gears, a lot of these will just pull out. Some of them, if we tip that transmission up and bang like this gear from the other side, if we tap it out, it'll just come right out. Might be able to pull it off here so you're able to see what it looks like underneath. What I pulled off that was spring loaded is kind of a tensioner for this chain. So there's that gear there. And these splines, actually that axle was extremely tight coming out of there in really, really good shape. So that's your main rear. So this is the rear of the transmission, just to kind of give you an idea where we're at there. And this is the shift. You've got your shift drum here. We've got your shift forks on this. Here we've got your shaft here, and this shaft would sit. This is where your secondary clutch would sit. So that is a transmission on a Sportsman 570.